Hey guys, a little morning follow-up. SE has been a stellar stock. Scaled into this, or tried to scale into this, 150 shares, but only got filled for 50. And I missed this little dip here, getting another fill. 147 has actually been the support level, and it went below there, but it looked like a little bit of a shakeout. This is a stock that's always highly shorted, so I figured a squeeze with the way the market's acting is in order. We just popped through a wedge, so I'll just hold those positions there. Blonde Tongue BDR, I believe is the name of it, is halted. This is actually interesting, and I'm wondering, it wasn't halted on a circuit breaker, I don't think, because it hadn't really extended the move. But this is at all-time highs, I believe. And I know they recently reported earnings, so I'm wondering if this is the beginning of a longer-term move. Let me see where the all-time high is. I believe it is. Yeah. I believe this is an all-time high. So there must have been something in the earnings report, because it was a kind of a delayed reaction. It didn't really move on earnings. And I believe they lost 12 cents a share. No, it's had higher prices. Actually, this company's been around a lot longer than I thought. This is a 20-year chart, so it's been as high as $8 in 2001. Oh, that's good. Good and bad, I guess. But this move on this much volume will be interesting to see where it kind of pulls back and settles in, depending on how that opens up off the news, freezing the stock, halting it at 335. I don't see anything on level 2 that looks too crazy. Kind of some guessing games going on. There's a gap between the big buyer at 330, and then there's a gap between the big seller at 345. So I don't think anybody really knows what's going on with this yet. So this is definitely one to watch, even though the earnings weren't that stellar. Just doing a little research, they do have an interesting turnaround story, and one to keep an eye on BDR. I did trade this a little bit today. I probably should have mentioned it in the morning newsletter, but I wasn't too impressed with the morning action on that one. SQQQ was good for a scalp. 26 was actually the resistance intraday. It could push back over there, though. It got a little bit over there, actually. 2607, 2608, I guess. And now we're pulling back to the VWAP. This might continue, like I said, to have some relative strength. So I don't know if anybody caught a scalp reversal on this, but you had a nice move, 1,000 shares down here, gets you $1,500. So that is one to keep an eye on. Tesla always is a great buy on pullbacks. I'm looking to maybe scalp this since we've already reached the SQQQ high. Actually, I was trading some other stocks, so I probably would have bought this move here. Nice 46-point move from this little double bottom, right? Then back above the VWAP, retest the VWAP, and then shot higher. Textbook. I missed it. So I can only watch so much stuff. I have 3 monitors, but I'm still in JFIN, just so you guys know. I'm still in Evofem. Evofem looks interesting here. Expecting some news. It's curling up and breaking a consolidation. So I don't know what that's about. Here's this little consolidation wedge, and I'm not going to chase it here because I already have a big position. Let me see here. Let's add the 1-year study. But this little curl up action that we've seen here is really interesting, because now you're kind of breaking out of this little consolidation that we've had. And I know they're ramping up sales on Fexi in September, so maybe people are positioning them ahead of some good news. But you're kind of, God, toss is such a pain in the ass. You're kind of curling out of this wedge, out of this consolidation frame, which is long enough to build energy for sure. But I see the market weakness today is maybe holding it back a little bit. I don't know if this is going to be a one-time shakeout on QQQ. Getting close to our 279 Fibonacci extension, and then we just hit new all-time highs from here, or whether this is a sharp pullback on Qs, they buy the dip and then they don't want to hold it. So you could have another move on SQQQ higher here. So don't get too complacent here. So looking at the volume here, getting close to the RSI, overbought, but we're now finally starting to curl and break through on the positive MACD. And I'm definitely seeing more buying volume other than this one day than I'm seeing selling volume. So I like to see this incremental increase here. Today is what, the 19th, and we're already reaching half of the average volume. Actually more than half of the average volume, but we're already at half of the higher volume that we saw yesterday. So interesting move on EvoFem, could be positioning itself. I mean, there's really nothing left here on EvoFem. You know, they've already done a secondary offering. Nothing, hopefully nothing but blue skies ahead here if everything turns out okay on their ramp up of FXE. KC, King Cloud Software looks strong here. A recent IPO, our Netgear continuing to hold in here, being very resilient. We said this is probably a much higher stock after earnings pullback. Qualcomm, I'm still holding a small position. And what else do we have? LTRN, a recent IPO. Something's going on here. 1422 is actually some resistance. These are very hard because of, number one, the spreads on these are usually kind of crazy because they are IPOs. But look at the 1 year daily on this. It's going to look a little wonky because it's a recent issue. But we've definitely busted this downturn, this downward kind of channel trajectory. God, Thinkorswim's a pain in the ass. Oops, I'm on the triangular, but you get it. And on big volume and increasing volume too. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Made a new low. That's why these things are so awkward. And then literally broke back above all this congestion in 2 days. And now we're back above that. We're back above the wick of the 1373 and kind of pushing higher. Getting a little bit overextended here on a 5-day 20. But one to keep an eye on. Something's going on here, right? I mean, we know where the bottom is, right? The bottom would be the wedge here at 1163. So not a lot of downside here, and really don't know what's going on to the upside here. I haven't really looked at the news other than they're on some, they're going to be featured on some news for Redshift Money Report on Bloomberg. So maybe people are positioning themselves ahead of that, but those are some big volume moves there for this stock. Not relative to the market and your average stock, but keep an eye on that, and let's see how BDR opens back up. Kind of interested in this. Still halted. Hopefully they didn't do a secondary, and if they did, maybe it is something to watch for a longer term, because this move has been on huge volume, and I get it. A lot of day traders are probably piled in here, but let's see how that goes. Still holding the SE trade here. Unfortunately, it was a small position. We were looking for 150. We only got 50 filled. But yeah, it's kind of broken this little wedge here. Now we're kind of bull flagging in here. And you can kind of see if we stretch it out. We're on 1 minute charts here, so nothing crazy. So maybe another trade is in order for SQQQ. Looking for it to retest that high and possibly push through the 26, maybe the 26.15, 26.20, and then snap back again. But I'm more prone to buy weakness on this market than I am to, try to short it. So it's already starting to curl back up on SQQQ. So keep an eye on that though. Little pullback here on SC. Now we just have to hold this little trailing channel to the upside. Got close to the VWAP, and then we saw some selling, but it just could be setting up for a bigger move. Push through the VWAP, early shakeout on the 1 year on SE. Not a company that I really like fundamentally at this point, but they do have an interesting growth story in e-commerce, and that's been a hot area. So maybe on the channel side, we're looking slightly, I'd say it's probably done here on a channel around 154, 155, but it does have an interesting shape here with the volume after the earnings. So maybe there was something in that somebody saw. And what I mean is that it really did break this little, I don't even know if this would be considered a breakout. I mean, you could say this was a breakout when we curled back above, but what happened when we broke out from this area here? We simply curled, breakout, pulled back, and then came back down below it. So we could certainly do that again. We could curl, break out above the 145-ish area, and then just curl back down again. So I keep using the wrong one there. So keep an eye on SE though. It's a good day trading stock. NVAX. NVAX has been a good short, but right now we're starting with weakness. Big time support on NVAX at 140. That is actually a Fibonacci level that I've been watching. Probably could have bought that one too for a reversal. And let's look at the 1 year on NVAX. Let's remove all this junk. So yeah, the 140 has been a support level on the 10-day 20s. Right here. Right at the open, it got down to like 138, 139, 140. Yesterday low, 138, 139.40. And today they didn't even wait for it. 139, 140. So we'll keep an eye on that one too. See if it pulls back, gives me another entry. But it seems to be pushing higher highs, higher lows on 20. So some of the stuff we're going to miss. SQQQ is trying to find some support. And SC doesn't know what it wants to do. So I'm focusing on this BDR for the reopen. And let's see what happens.